This is the 8-9 combo. I am Brett McKay, and I'm joined once again by my co-host from time zones many and varied, Harry Jones. Hello, mate. Where do we find you this week?
How's it, Brett? I'm battling with politicians in Washington, D.C. I understand you battled with some Canberra politicians over the weekend with
I did.
You reeled them in, right? You had a run chase.
A comfortable run chase in the end, yes. For anyone following on the social media, I did play another game of cricket, and I'm happy to admit that I got through unscathed, no injuries to report, which is happy news.
Do the politicians have to announce whether they're far left or far right when they're bowling? Like now, bringing some off seam.
They do that. It's funny that the history of the game shows that the makeup of the politicians' game very much changes depending on who's in power. It's not bipartisan. It swings one way or the other. So yeah, strength of teams can depend on who's in power at the time. It's episode 7 of the 8-9 Combo Rugby podcast, all thanks to the Sports Social Podcast Network, and you'll find us on all the pod platforms, as you know, Spotify and Apple, YouTube, and all its musical offspring. The End of Days on Google Podcasts, Amazon Audible, iHeart, literally wherever you get your podcasts. So please do like, follow, subscribe, rate and review, and share, of course, too. And yes, we did indeed front the Raw Rugby podcast for a couple of years, and if you listen to us back then, we obviously say welcome back. It's good that you found us, but if you are new to our pod, then we say hello, and we hope that you stick around for this new little journey of ours into the rugby pod world. Cheers and jeers, mate. It's the new name for the same way we've started the pod for a while. What are you kicking us off with this week with cheers?
Cheers is all about the drop goals. There was a vivid contrast this week where we had Kimu Valentini doing the dummy double shimmy, look outside, pretend you're going to go to the side, and then boom, the toe droppy straight on. I don't think he even thought about the instep or the side. True, went over.
It's almost old school, wasn't it? Straight on.
Heartbreak for the Waratahs, who had clawed all the way back. It's nothing like cleaning rocks in 40 degrees, double-digit humidity.
90% humidity, yeah. Well, we might be able to find out about that in just a few moments. Jeers this week, mate, is to the Blues, and you're going to go, huh, what's he done here? And the Blues ran a distant second in the retro jersey face-off against the Crusaders at Eden Park on Saturday for one simple reason. But they're both sporting mid-90s throwbacks to the first days of Super 12. But the Blues got it wrong for one simple reason. They didn't do the collar. The Crusaders did, and so their 96, 97 number looked absolutely on point because of it. But the Blues went with the modern, this sort of style. And for our listeners, I'm holding a jersey that I'm wearing. They sort of went with the modern collar, and it just didn't.
You are such a collar snob. You're such a collar snob.
I'm a collar purist, I'll admit. I will admit. Right. The 8-9 of the week, I know what you're going to say here, because there was a standout in this.
There was? Was it Tight Pants Harry?
Yes, of course it was.
No, my number 8 is
Wilson
different.
To McDermott. Oh, okay. Wilson McDermott off the base of the scrum for a try.
Yeah, but the Reds were red-faced and red-arsed by the end, so... I'm going with a guy from Seattle, the Seawolves. I'm going with a guy they call Broccoli Man. He stands on the sideline holding 2 stalks of broccoli, and he literally waves them. And he apparently was a number 8 when he played. It looks like just the worst nightmare of a Pacific grunge, bad name of a rock band. He's called Broccoli Man. So okay. I'm going with him. Listen, I don't think it was a great week for 8s, actually. I think all the 8s made some big mistakes. I cringed every time it happened. Poor Harry had a couple of drops as well. But listen, it's the combination. It's the combination.
That's the thing that counts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, let's get to this week's guest then, mate. It is one of our very favourite guests from last year. Still one of the funniest episodes we ever did. And he was right toward the very top of the list of guests that we wanted to bring onto the 8-9 banner nice and early. He's up right after this. Right now, in fact. We are absolutely thrilled to welcome onto the 8-9 combo for the first time someone we shared a lot of laughs with last year. We've been quietly proud of his form line since that memorable pod as well. He's been in one of the very best again for the New South Wales Waratahs in 2024. It is great to check in for the first time under the new banner with Ned Hanigan. Hello, mate. Welcome back.
Hey, fellas. Very well. Thanks for having me back.
How's it, Ned?
It's good to be yarning again once again.
And look at this backdrop you've got for our listeners. Ned he could be out in the back paddock somewhere. It's just down. Were you just in a local park or something, mate? Where are you?
Yeah. No, we're got a bit of a view of a few people playing tennis and things down here. A couple of dog walkers. So we might have a few poochers jump on this bench seat with me as we get through this podcast. But yep, no, we'll
see how we go.
Getting a bit green, getting a bit earthy.
Nice. How was the post-Fiji recovery, mate? It looked hot and sweaty there on Saturday for you.
Yeah, well, it definitely felt that way. Yeah, no, look, she was pretty testing conditions over there. I think it's always a hard place to go over, and they've done so well over there. They've made it a bit of a fortress. But yeah, no, she's sort of 38, 39 degrees and a fair bit of moisture in the air. It was, it proved to be a pretty slippery pill and things like that. But still just such a great experience. The Fijian people are such beautiful people. And by God, they get around their team. It was so loud there at Lautoka, I think it's called, Churchill Park.
Lautoka, yeah, that's right.
Lautoka.
Would you have played? I'm wearing a New South Wales country jersey. Would you have played an NRC game?
Yeah, I see that. Can't the Eagles? No, it's one of the great teams of the NRC. No, we had opportunities to be. I had an opportunity to go over there and play with the Eagles on a couple of occasions, and either didn't get picked or got injured, or there was a bit of stuff, and they toured there last year with Australia A, and.
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't on that.
So that was your first Fijian experience.
Yep, first Fijian experience. Yeah, that's
there
right.
There you go.
Oh, apart from a few of the Carver sessions where they have after games here in Sydney. Sometimes we're part of.
True.
I get that experience offshore sometimes, but first time over there to Fiji. So it was.
I reckon, Harry, and you would have seen this too. The only place that was slightly hotter than on the field, I think, was in the coach's box. And our mate Simon Rawalui looked like he was doing it pretty tough there on assignment next to Mick Byrne up in the coach's box for the Drua.
Yeah, I know. So Ned, looked like to me that all the Waratahs were coping with the heat different ways, but I swear Jake Gordon seemed to be having fun. Was he just up for that? He I always call him the roadie. He looks like a guy who's always kind of happy being miserable. What is it like to be in there when you're in like a real war? Everyone's dying, but like it's really interesting how different people have different reactions to being in that kind of peril.
Yeah, he's a competitor, Jake. And look, that was a game that we've had a few good results over the past couple of years against Fiji, and we just thought we had a good game plan. And look, they had a very good second quarter against us. Yeah, whacked a few sort of 3 or could have even been 4 tries into us, and but to bring it back 36 all, Jake had a fair bit to do with that. He was quite busy in the D line and just around the park, and like you say, he's just a competitor. And you're right. He just bloody got busy that day. He's a pretty big for a halfback, but there's still not a heap of him. He mightn't have as much sweat to lose. I don't know. He was dipping around. No worries, Jakey.
Yeah.
I thought he was definitely our best.
He was, no doubt about that. Is there a different recovery after you've been through, a really different sort of environment like that, and the body?
Gatorade.
They're right. So it's just a Gatorade bath. Is that the secret? Is it?
Nah, look, I tend to do the same stuff recovery wise. I think hydration's probably the big one.
Yeah.
You just lose so much. It doesn't matter how much you're trying to shove into yourself, but the thing is, it's even playing fields out between the posts. You're going through the same stuff.
Yeah, so, but they've lived there their whole life, mate. They know how to do it.
Well, we're telling ourselves it's the same. Look, I just thought it was. I rewatched the game, and we did pretty well to come back and push it into extra time. So there were a few things there just at the back end of that extra time where if we had our time again, we definitely execute on. But it was one hell of a field goal.
Yeah, and also Tane's worm burner. That thing was destined for your head, man. I mean, that was a bullet train drop kick. It almost knocked down the poles. It was like a Luka Modric free kick in soccer.
No, he got a chunk of it, that's for sure. Pretty heavy deck too. I don't know whether the ball bounced a bit odd for him, but you look at our left edge defence just before extra time. The reason, the play where it got called in extra time, Tane made an incredible ankle tap on the left.
That saved it. Yeah,
that was match saving.
That 100% saved the game for us. Talked to Maxi Jorgensen after. If Tane misses him there, it's a 4-on-1 on the left edge, and we don't go to extra time. So Tane's effort, had us in the position to go into extra time, and if he didn't do that, we wouldn't have even been there. So
he's pretty quick, man. He outran Severis a couple of weeks ago as well.
Tane,
Tane's got some toe.
Get the knees up. He's just got to keep a grunt, Tane. Like, he just goes for it, and he's not going to quit, which makes him, the player he is. He's such a diligent sort of player, and makes sure he crosses the T's and dots the I's. And I just really hope for him, that he keeps getting put in those situations where he clutches out games, because he needs one. I see the work he does. And he deserves to win a game. And I think if we're there or thereabouts, he's going to have his opportunity again this year, and he'll nail it.
I have no doubt, man. He's tough. He's a tough guy, and I think he's tough mentally. Speaking of that, man, you've been cleaning rocks like a monster this year. That's why I've been pushing you to be Taylor Swift's next boyfriend. I put that out there, and the Waratahs social media, by the way, stepped on it and said, yeah, maybe so. But no, you're getting very low, even though I feel like you've added some beef.
For the record, Ned, when I first heard this idea, I just sort of said, do you think we should float this one past Ned's partner/fiance first?
I'm just saying, no one never knows what's happening in life, right?
I'm just saying. There was a level of due diligence about this before it went live.
Well, it just be for fame purposes. But no, Ned, you're getting very low on your cleans. And I noticed in the early part of the match, when actually the Drua were going pretty well, there was like a set order. By the end, you were just cleaning every rock. I mean, like, it didn't seem like there was any like 1, 2, 3 or yours, mine, red, blue. You were just going in every single time. It'd be fun like an NRL or NFL where it doesn't matter what your carries, you just carry and it's over. But we have this thing where we have to clean a carry. By the end, what were you like? Were you just a zombie by the end? I think I saw you clean about 6 rucks in a row.
Yeah, geez, I might have to check that. I think that's supposed to be happening. Getting a bit excited there. What Fiji do so well is they're unpredictable in attack, but they're also a little bit unpredictable in D. They sometimes give you a little bit of a shoulder where you sneak through, but then their scramble D is really good, or they might sort of have a bit of a tactic where they're not coming off the line real hard. They wait and sort of create that hold up maul sort of situation for turnovers and stuff. So I think they did a good job on the weekend of taking us off the ball, the cleaners. So. When someone does that well and you're around the ruck, you sort of recognise that they might not get to it. So I might have just thought I need to get to a few rucks. That, or I'm a bit tired.
Just a good place to hide. Like, let me latch on. Let me get involved somewhere. Yeah. No, but did that make you have to send 2 cleaners? Is that what the consequence of that is? You got to send 2 guys?
Yeah, I suppose you sort of need to send 2 in today's game anyway, unless the ball's super fast, Harry. Like, there's just too many blokes that waiting for the opportunity, good pitcher to get on the ball, and they're just too good at it. So if you give windows to them, they're doing a good job, and the people around them often are pretty handy at sort of creating that. Like you might slightly, subtly check someone off the ball to give someone who's good on the ball the opportunity to get a turnover. So Fiji they got threats all over the park in attack, which people talk about a lot, but defensively they're bloody sound as well. So yeah.
You've earned your match payment if you make a tackle bust against them, because they're hitting well.
Oh yeah, well no, there was a bit of a passage there where we're sending a few people into it and it's not coming out too good. Look, it's I know it's Fiji's. Even the international side, people kind of regard it as, if you're not Fijian, it's like your second favourite team. The way they play and just how much the footy means to them. They'll be there at the end of the season, Fiji. Like they have gotten a hell of a lot better. A lot of those players have been with one another for a fair while there now, and like you said, with Mick and Simon, in the coaching folds over there. I think the ex-referee Jackson.
Glenn Jackson. Jackson, he's still running the water for him, isn't he? Yeah,
he was running a bit of the water, and you can see that he's sort of rugby nous around the game as well, in the way they play, and it's just some of their players are just on fire at the moment.
Well, so I've got to ask a question about this thing. Assistant referees are notorious for. Assistant coaches running the water are notorious for giving referees a bit of a piece of their mind. Does Glenn Jackson walk on there and say, "Come on, mate, they've been offside all day"? Is Glenn Jackson giving James Dolman a few tips while he's out there?
Look, I don't know, but I'd say he's got a bit of merit to do it. He might even pull a few laws out. 36 number 2. He might cite it, and that'd. Yeah, no.
He'd be able to make a compelling case.
Know the rules, all right.
He has he has a law book in his back pocket, whips it out, and says, "Look at 14.3." Glenn Jackson was so hot in that game. They kept interviewing him. He had turned into one freckle. Like all the freckles had joined together in one match. So the field.
Water boy, Theo Footy, he's came over as sort of a bit of a backup and ended up running the water. I reckon he was just as sweaty after the game as some of the boys, because there were a lot of points scored and a few stoppages and things like that. So he was doing it. He got the meters up and he was a pool of sweat by the time it all finished.
Did you get to get around Fiji at all in the lead up or in the aftermath? I saw some great video of on the women's side, the women's Waratahs team. After the win, even when they got to the hotel, the locals were like singing and celebrating with them. Did you get to look around and walk around a little bit?
We got there on the Thursday, playing on the Saturday, and a bit of travel. So I didn't look around, too much at all really. We went for a drive just to get out of the hotel, but no, actually the hotel staff did a fair bit of that for us. They had songs, and we all got shell necklaces when we rocked up and a bit of stuff like that. And
cool.
It is cool. It is. And like I said a bit earlier on, they're just such good people, and they just love footy. Like they're just so excited to have you there, playing, and it was a pretty cool experience.
Do you think, mate, that the teams might start realising that you've actually got to acclimatise before you can play the Drua at home? Might teams start arriving, 2 or 3 days early so that it's not such a factor come game day?
Yeah, look, I don't know. They might find themselves in saunas Monday, Tuesday before they travel, just to get a bit acclimatised or something like that. I don't know. I think that sort of comes down to logistics a little bit and costs as well. Like it's obviously a bit more expensive to have teams in a hotel resort in Fiji for an extra couple of days.
You'd have to be on pretty friendly terms with the commercial team before you say we might go to Fiji a couple of days early this year.
Look, I'm all aboard for it. We fly out of Sydney on the Sunday arvo, have the week there. We used to do that a little bit, with Africa and Japan and Argentina COVID, it's all sort of changed a little bit with the travel.
Yeah. We talked about your hit and rucks for fun now, but you've been making some monster tackle numbers this year. So is this a maturity of you as you get older, mate? Your work rate has naturally increased, or is that something that you've actually worked on pretty hard over the off season as well?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've always just tried to look for the work, go to where the smoke is a bit, to feel the say in the pack. So, look, it is a bit of a cliche, but when blokes are doing, what you sort of need them to do around you, and they're in position and things like that, you can kind of work the game and have it come to you a little bit, I suppose. It sort of works in attack and D a bit similar. I think you've obviously got a 5'8's always going to be getting the ball in a game of footy as opposed to a winger, but a winger can still inject himself and find places that pop up. I think D's a bit the same. You're probably always going to have a 7 that is in and around the ruck off first phase or second phase, but sometimes if you hold a short side, you don't see much of the pill, but you can still sort of be able to read the game and inject yourself into it. And I don't know whether it's with age or, a bit more experience that comes a bit easier. I don't know. I'm just enjoying being out in the middle, and, it's the best day of the week, game day, whether that's a Thursday or Friday or Sunday or whatever. It's just the best day of the week, and I like being out there in the middle. So that might have something to do with it, just playing the game that you want to play as opposed to running grids in a 17-week preseason. It's a fair bit better running around on game day.
They also called your number a lot in lineouts down the stretch. Looked like it was you were the go-to guy there. Victor Matfield always talked about being easy to lift. And he talked a lot about, your position on the ground, on the deck, as you go to lift. And he tried to be a jumper. And so you're just helping him jump. Are you actually thinking about that, or are your mates just sticking you up in the air?
You have to ask them. Maybe I'm just a dead bit of wood that they're just on filler. Look, it's interesting you say that. We definitely have spoken about, jumpers jump, lifters lift, and you think, oh, that's, pretty obvious. But no, when you're actually getting lifted, sometimes you feel like they're going to do all the work. But, I'm trying to jump as high as I can and have them help me. But, we've got some cattle across the line out at the moment that are just doing such a good job. And we got some outstanding bookend props that are launching us into the air. So,
Jed Holloway's leading the way, mate. There, he's up in the air for probably every second one because he's calling for you a lot.
He's becoming a bit of a veteran at the line out. Jed, he's called the Tars line out there for a while, and we're pretty lucky that there's been a few combinations that have been together for a bit. Like, Jed and I have been sort of attacking D with one another for a fair while. So, that definitely, in crucial sort of times in the game, you definitely can lean on that a little bit.
Yeah.
He's another one that's the same sort of mantra. Like, he's just going to jump and lifters lift him.
It'd be rough feedback if you think you're jumping, but the lifters think, no, he's hopeless. He's just dead weight.
They tell you. They go, mate, that was a terrible jump. What's going on?
Any danger of you actually trying to jump? Yeah.
Mondays, after your shoulders are a bit sore, and usually they've backed about 10 or so scrums and, about 10 or so tackles. And if you don't jump, they get halfway up the lift and think, forget it, and they let you go.
Ned, when are we going to see you do some niggle? I'm still waiting for that big face off. And what's going to be your move? Are you a jersey puller? Are you a screamer? Are you a shouter? Are you going to get real red in the face?
Nah, too many cameras these days, mate. So we've got to be careful. Look, the competitiveness is always there. You try to keep it a little bit closed in and don't just pull the gloves off and get stuck right in like they do in the old days. But it's there or thereabouts. there was a bit of niggle there on the weekend, and there always is with contact sports. You find that, but it's all part of it.
I think the biggest trouble now, Harry, is that there's lip readers out there. So even the sledges.
Yeah, it's all good times. But Ned, so the Waratahs have suffered some really tough losses. I mean, everyone's gone back and said it could be 4-1. A couple of things go here and there. What's the psychology of it? For me, in every loss I've ever part of, I want to understand it. I kind of want to sit in and think about it for a day, and then I pick up and say, "Now we're good." And some guys, some teammates just gotta let it roll off. Some people are just mad for a week. How do you kind of work through some of these really tough losses? Because it was right there. It looked like for all the world that the Waratahs were going to sneak a win, a famous win in Lautoka.
Yeah. Look, it has been a little bit like that. We're staying consistent for all the wrong reasons, but look, the Highlanders game, we're there or thereabouts, and it was sort of quite a stop-start game. Had a kick to win it, didn't quite execute. The Blues, same sort of thing, you're there or thereabouts and just not quite been able to do it. And again, in extra time. Look, I think the psychology of it is that there's always moments in games where you're going to win or lose, but if you win most of them that are the crucial ones, you end up on top. But I think the key to that is you don't actually know when those moments come. They can come in the 3rd minute,
right,
and no points are scored for the rest of the, or they come in the 78th or the 85th, or on the weekend the 89th. But it's just being able to be ready and execute the moments that really count. And look, I think the development of our side, for the Blues, for example, like we played a very similar Blues side in a quarter last year over there, and weren't there or thereabouts. Like we got dominated. We're in it, for sort of 25 minutes, and then it just genuinely got away from us. So, look, we have to be there when the final whistle goes or thereabouts, to win it. And we're doing that. We're just on the wrong side of the ledger. And you ask about the mental game. Well, I just reckon we got to start winning the moments that really count. And you don't get experience with those moments unless you're there.
That's right.
A few times. And even on the weekend, like we're setting up for a drop goal before the extra time and ended up knocking the ball on. But just those moments, like, can we slow it down, or can we change tempo in this area? But I think she's, if you don't make those little mistakes, and I'm fully aware that we might have made too many of them, but you've got to learn from them. But if you keep making them, then that's when it's no good. But at the moment, I think we're right there or thereabouts, and everyone's still pretty motivated to play proper good. We'll put on a good performance here for the home fans against the Rebels on Friday night, Good Friday. So it's like you said, it's disheartening, and you can't. We don't have a week to sulk about it because you've got to get on to the next job. But it definitely hurts because you're just right there, and it's just not quite doing it. But it is going to come. We all feel it is going to come in those moments if we're in them again, which I think we're going to be, because we're right there at the end of all these games.
And that fight back against the Drua was huge. To me, I think a lot of teams would have, not lied down, but they would have called it a day. I think that fight back was probably, for me, the biggest Waratah sign of the season, that you guys are going to be there, because that was brutal to crawl back into that game.
And I was going to say, like you said earlier there, Ned, that it's just about, you said it about Tane, Edmed, that if he's just got to land one of those clutch moments. But if you as a team can do that as well and land that clutch moment, like that's beyond building a little bit of confidence. That's a huge step forward. For sure, because it's like we can do this. And the weekend one, it hurt just because of being down by that much going into the sheds, and
They're a good outfit, Fiji, and we had to, do some pretty gutsy stuff to come away, being that close. But just being that close and having probably 2 or 3 chances to really, we get one of those right, we end up.
Yeah.
There was a break on the right edge. We came off a scrum, I think it was. First phase break on the right edge. Jorgo, Tristan Riley, I think's on his right side. I think I've got that right. And someone's hustling up on the inside. The ball goes across, and a Fiji hand just gets to it. You think, those moments are they're coming. They're close, but they're not quite there. But we're staying to the cause.
And there's a good point for a break. That's a good spot.
I thought you guys had it, then I'll tell you. I was like, that's it.
So
that break, it was it. Yeah.
Yeah,
it was. I just can't quite remember. Maybe it was
there was two. There was 2 breaks. One was at the left side and one was the right side. So maybe it's
the one on the left side was off the. Was it a?
He got to 5 meters out. He got to 5 meters out. Yeah.
And Julian Heaven picks it up. Joey goes to Tristo. Tristo just gets clipped.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, geez, like just stuff like that. But in extra time, you've got the opportunity with that Yarny, like what the field goal attempt. It's anyway, just not quite there.
But he rattled the poles, man. It was a good strike.
Yeah. Would the drop goal have counted if it come off your head, Ned? Can you get an assist for a drop goal?
I'm not sure. I really.
Ned, I literally looked into this, and it turns out no. But there's a one contentious point is if it hit your foot without touching the ground, and it might have counted. Yeah, it's never been done before.
No doubt.
Might have, Glenn Jackson might be running the water then.
Glenn Jackson would have to look it up on the spot, wouldn't he? Mate, World Rugby has dropped into its post-World Cup tweak mode again. They've launched into what they've called the next steps of the process of reimagining rugby's entertainment factor. And we thought, we haven't really had a chance to talk about it much, Harry, so we thought it actually would be worth going through these and getting the players' perspective on what sort of change it could make if you're up for it. So some of it we're seeing already. The players having to use the ball, much sooner at the backs of rucks, and we're hearing use it called all the time now. So
being whistled, like losing the ball,
and being pinged for it. Yes, exactly right. So as soon as anyone's trying to set, caterpillar rucks or anything like that, we're hearing use it. Glenn Jackson, Ben O'Keefe is even saying use it 5 and then counting down, so that if there's just no way of getting it wrong. So is that having an impact already? And would you like to see more referees doing that the same sort of way, actually giving you a bit of a countdown?
I think the referee, look, it definitely taking a very, 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 very long for people to be exiting, 2 years ago. So it's definitely came up, and I think you see the call from the referee use it, and halfbacks get like they go, right, we've got to get to action quick, smart here. Look, a countdown, I suppose, but I think it also is the referee still needs to be able to, have the flow of the game.
Yes.
The ball's stuck, but they're getting busy about kicking it, and you're right, it's at the back, gone. I think, if it takes 8 seconds or 3 seconds, I think that's just game management, and I think it becomes a problem when, it's taking forever and everyone's getting set up. But it's opening the game up because, you've got to kick it sometimes when you're not quite ready, which gives the other teams a bit of a chance to counter-attack back at you. The other thing I've really found that's sped the game up is we don't actually have a shot clock visible, but going into into a line out, that sort of stuff. They are saying less run. Like, on lads, time's ticking away. So fellas we're not being given the opportunity to dawdle. And that opens the game. I think you look, to some other sports that have changed the rules, particularly in the rugby league, where they've gone like the 6 again sort of rule. And early game, you don't see too much of a difference, but the last sort of 35, like these are tired and athletes that are, on the sting or fullbacks or quick feet 5'8", they're getting their chance to go at tighter bodies, which makes it a good spectacle. So changing the game a little bit.
The shot clock is interesting because the World Cup, we saw them visible. The URCAs had them, the URCs had them visible for a while. Remember, Harry, we had Andy Marinos when he was still in the CEO chair last year and he said that they weren't able to get them visible in the stadium and on the broadcast for last season, but the expectation was that this year they would be good to go. But we've not seen them at all this year, and I wonder whether we've actually missed the trick there. Because I remember saying at the time, if you can see a countdown clock, you can see action. And even if the time being counted is the same, the fact that you can see a countdown clock means that it's right there. You've got to get it right. So I just wonder if we've missed the trick not having it in place this year.
No, I think so. Game day experience is very important in rugby if you're talking about bums on seats and so forth. I think in the MLR, they're doing some things like that because they're so acutely aware that they need to attract new viewers. So maybe they're more respectful of the viewer, of the actual attendee. Like, hey, I want to make sure you know what's going on. I like any tweak where it's existing laws and we're doing it more. Yes. I'm not a big fan of always looking at how can we change the laws every year to make it more exciting for somebody that's mythical, like some made-up guy. I think the idea of saying use it and really meaning it's been waiting forever. We've always been making fun of the ref going, use it, and nothing happens.
Yeah. No, really use it. I really mean it, use it this time. Yeah, exactly. I just like the shot clock, and we can hear referees, Ned, saying, Commonwealth's like Packet, we've got 30 seconds now. You can hear that conversation happening, but in the broadcast, we see a little flash down from the score box that says, infringement at the ruck or offside or whatever. We're seeing that sort of thing in the broadcast. Some stadiums do it. It just feels like that sort of thing should be part of it, and we should be able to see that because I think it would make the enjoyment factor more. So I don't know. That's an interesting one.
Another area where they're I think. Refereeing the mauling, they are sensing that the maul's not going anywhere and they're going use it, and they're like back. It is another area, and it gets the ball out, gets it going. So you really only have I don't know. I suppose it's 5 or 6 seconds of a maul.
It might not even be that long. Yeah.
And if it's not going, they're not putting up with just having it. Sit about there and wait around. Like, use it now, 9. And if 9s don't grab it, or all of a sudden the maul launches forward, they pull it back. They go, no, we said get rid of it.
I've seen that too. Yeah.
So, we're aware that when the refs go like play ball, it's got to happen.
Yeah. So that particular one where the suggestion is that the ball has to be played from a maul after it's stopped once and not a second time, that's part of a closed trial that unions and competitions will be able to implement if they see fit. So I don't know whether we'll see that in Super Rugby this year, whether it might be a next year thing, but it's interesting that they're talking about that already. The expansion of shot clock for lineouts and scrums and things like that is part of that same closed trial. One of the other ones that they want in now is around hookers maintaining the full break foot at the set piece, as in at the formation of the scrum. There's been a bit of conversation about that in games this year. Ned, is that something that just hasn't quite taken in properly, or what's happening there?
They got their
You're
break
just
foot
listening?
or feet up or 2 feet or just push and get into it. I know there's a bit of dummy footing and all that stuff going on, but the break foot's been I think those rules have changed.
It's been there for a while,
bit jumping jab. There's always been amendments around the break foot. Hookers are across it. sometimes refs are really hard on it. Other times it's a bit quieter. You're gonna have to talk about a hooker and a halfback. I'm really not that sure.
Yeah. No, it might just be the modern interpretation of the dark arts of the law as well, which is not necessarily.
A hooker is just a prop that throws the ball in the line out. That's all it is now.
That's true. It's true.
There's so much more than that these days now. If you can't jackal or carry or throw 20 passes from the base of launch, mauling, and so you don't get a start. Hookers are they don't get enough. I don't reckon they get enough rap. They've got to hit top of line out, potentially when the drill is a little bit different. The idea is that we keep it all the same, but there's so many variables, and why they're not busy, their shoulders are sort of pinned in behind their ears, and they got a hook or ball. You think, bugger that. And then they come out of like a scrum when they're the person that they go to on a lot of return plays and that sort of stuff to create a bit of skill. And why they're not busy, there's heaps of hookers that can run like a tin air. They absolutely hit the clappers. You think I reckon they're phenomenal.
It looks like to me hookers are in involuntary yoga when in the scrum too. Like it looks unnatural where their shoulders go.
All they've got to look forward to is finishing their career an inch shorter than they started. There's no question about that. The interesting one coming up, there's a recommendation for global adoption is to outlaw the croc roll as part of the clean out. Is that it's going to invoke the question of what are you supposed to do sometimes, isn't it? So, I mean, is your clean out technique something you have to be more focused on and more cognizant of?
I'm pretty sure, definitely around the neck, and if you roll, it's a penalty now. Look, I actually think it's a pretty inefficient way to get rid of someone. I think if you've got someone over the ball and they're firmly on it, and you need to go chest on back to remove them, you're probably in a bit of strife anyway.
Yeah.
But I think that if it's still in and you're able to do it, it needs to go. It results in injury. Like you're on someone's, chest on back and you roll. The only thing you're rolling onto is knees.
Yeah.
And if you're down the back of someone, it's like a bit of a hip drop. Like Look, I haven't seen one of those for a long time, and I think you'd be penalised pretty severely if you decided to do one of those, definitely at super international level.
I think you're right. If you're coming in over the top and they're already on ball, you've already missed that chance. I feel like that penalty's getting
you missed the shoulder battle. It's a timing issue, right? And also, I think it always highlights the pilfer. Like I think when you croc roll, it always goes, and then the guy comes up, he has the ball, and then you lose.
I'm fine. I've still got it. It's a good point. It's either your knee or their knee that's going to let go there, isn't it?
Yeah, and you don't want that.
No.
There's innocuous injuries enough in rugby union. We don't need to be doing things that are just they've got a high percentage of blokes getting injured. I definitely reckon that's probably one of them. We don't need any of the rolling around the back business.
No. Have you seen what sort of impact and what sort of work have you had to do around the so-called DuPont law? You're all now offside if you're in front of the kicker until the kicker actually puts you onside. Is that something you're all conscious of? Is it conversations or is it much of an adjustment?
Oh, look, it is. It's a massive adjustment. There's a lot of teams that were doing that, and for good reason. You save a lot of energy and you can put an extreme amount of pressure on usually pretty good athletes at the back. They're again, that's a rule that got changed, or I suppose got added. You couldn't
for this year,
to promote fellas at the back running the ball back and potentially seeing a bit more space makes, again, you're probably not seeing that in the first half or even 60 minutes, but when bodies get a bit tired and they've done 40 to 70 metre shuttles all game, and that stuff sort of takes its toll. So opening the game up, now I'm all for it.
I still laugh at Courtney Law's reaction to it a couple of weeks ago. I heard on a podcast, and he said, "Well, I know one thing for sure: I'm not moving. They're going to have to put me on side."
Yeah, fair enough.
Make them work for it. One of the ones, Harry, you're not a big fan of is this idea, and again, it's going to be a closed trial thing, but the ability to mark the ball inside the 22 from a restart, and the idea being that that'll promote attacking options. I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah, I think it's one of those speculations, like almost like the hold up 5 meter. It's like we think something's going to happen, but I'm not really sure that's how it'll play out.
What it is.
First of all, I like the continual contest for possession. So a number 8 gets the restart and then has a nice run up. It's one of the great moments in rugby to see a number 8 full steam, Aldrit, Vermeulen, like let's wind up Valentini. That's your choices to get in there or thereabouts on 22. Then you exit or do one more cycle, then you exit. I don't know why you want to skip straight to fullback catches mark and then kick. Yeah, it's almost taking it away.
Stoppage,
right.
then kick. Yeah. I'm not sure. Because sometimes, Ned, you just genuinely want to kick deep. Like, why not?
Yeah, no, I think I'm trying to think where the positive sort of implications of that would be. I'm struggling a little bit because no way from there's a winger hooking it down the sideline and another winger catches it, he just calls out mark, you don't get shots or you don't get the pressure at the breakdown or
the occasional turnover. And also you're just setting up the next line out anyway, right? So exactly. I'd still kick long and then they call a mark and then I still get my line out. So
and that's the thing, like the whole point being that it promotes attacking options, but you're literally going to cause a stoppage at the mark, then they'll tap and kick, then it'll go out, and there'll be another stoppage for another line out. I don't know. That feels like that's going to have the opposite effect. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, you couldn't kick it out. You can mark it, but you kick it. The ball's got to stay in.
Yeah, maybe that has to be maybe
a trial somewhere, is it?
Yeah, that's part of the ones that unions or competitions could bring in as a closed trial. So similar to the DuPont law in Super Rugby this year, they could say, all right, we'll give this a crack. So we'll see. It's interesting though to hear to talk about and hear the player perspective on that one though, like on all of them actually, because like the media release comes out and there's 5 phases to this whole thing and there's a few different dot points in it, but at some point you wonder, were the actual current players and coaches, I'm sure they were consulted and there's consultation groups, but I don't know, sometimes you just got to actually talk these through and some of them just don't make sense to me. I don't know. It
could be funny if Ned's being lifted to get the restart and then he calls a mark in the air.
Oh, now that's a good question. Is that valid?
Well, you have to be inside too. That'd make you quite leave the open short one. Never know. I suppose you do need to trial this stuff. Someone throws one on the table. Oh, that's never going to work. And then suddenly you see it. You think, like, I'm sure people are like 50-22s, after the first trial, you think, but now all of a sudden we're awake up to actually you can 50-22, you can click on it. You've got people hustling to build you. Like it's completely changed the way that scrum, backs and back rowers and fullbacks or wing D up, inside, like the team inside the up, because they have to D up the 22. That leaves more space on edges. You got to trial stuff to work out whether it's going to work. I suppose I don't know about the mark business though. I feel like that'd just stop play.
I feel like you've got to, if that comes in, I feel like you've got to set up for that inside the 22 and get the lift, call it, and just work out. Make them make a decision.
I've heard that
experiment.
I've heard that Nick White wants the 50-22 to be renamed the Nick White rule because he was the first one to actually do it in a test match.
He was. Well,
now you would. I just hear Whitey saying, I think it should be called that.
Ned, you would have been playing in the NRC when the 50-22 first came in, and the opposite was also true. You could kick it from inside your 22, and if you found touch inside the opposite 50, you got the line out throw as well. And I'm glad that hasn't come all the way through. But like that it definitely opened up the game in the NRC. So there's, as you say, you've got to have trials for this sort of thing. Mate, it's been great to talk to you again. It's been a lot of fun as always. It's been great to see you playing so well for the Waratahs. You've got a big game against the Rebels this weekend. It's a little bit must-winish for both teams all of a sudden.
Yeah, a little bit earlier on it. We're there about these tight games, and we just it'd be a nice little change up to come out on the side of the ledger. That's for sure.
Yeah,
man. Just take over the drop goal duties, man. You got this.
I tell you what, I wouldn't have added that flying Fijian winger and the app. I wouldn't have got that one. So both duties.
I love Tane.
No, good on you. No,
cheers, Ned.
Good on you, mate. Really good to talk to you.
Thanks again, lads. Good.
This is the 8-9 Combo Rugby Podcast. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones. And, mate, so good to have Ned Hanigan back on the pod. Loved it. Loved it.
Every team needs a player like Ned Hanigan. Every pod is blessed by it. He's a good friend. The guy's just got a really infectious attitude, and I love to see him going well. Yeah,
look, I've made mention of him in my Rugby Pass column this week. I just think his work rate lift, and as we did talk about, it is so noticeable this year. And I just think he's going to be the sort of player that Joe Schmidt and Laurie Fisher now will take notice of, because we know that they're big on repeat efforts, and we know they're big on accuracy, and he's just doing so many of the little things so well now. So I'm really happy. We get a bit of pride when some of our guys are doing well. So there's a bit of that in it, isn't there?
Yeah, and I just think there's a lot of cynics out there, and there's a particular little tiny constituency of rugby that's just nasty and horrible. And I think that's the kind of people. I think, Ned's the antidote to that. He obviously just loves the game. He loves the whole vibe, the sport, the team. And, that's a tough loss. And he's picked right up, and he's got a good attitude again. I'd love to have that guy on my team.
Absolutely. We could do a lot worse than more Ned Hanigans in the game, that's for sure. Mate, something a little bit different that we're doing this year. We're sort of talking around the weekend just gone for 8 or 10 minutes every week, the various competitions around the world, touching on the major talking points as we go through them. Super Rugby wise, the Hurricanes and the Brumbies had big wins over the Rebels and Moana, particularly, respectively, I should say. The Drua had that Golden Point thriller win over the Waratahs. The Blues were a lot better this week. They have been very up and down, but they were just too good for the hapless Crusaders. The Force completely outplayed Queensland in Perth.
There is a moral dilemma about the Crusaders. I mean, I think we're all facing a moral dilemma of I call it the choice between bewildered pity and Bogenfreude. It's a derivative of Schadenfreude. And I just, sometimes you go, I really kind of want to feel a little bit of pity. And then you go, no, I'm having so much fun watching it.
Sorry, there is.
So you've decided that 8-9 combo, our policy is that we're going to enjoy this for as long as it lasts. Yeah,
I think we have to, because there's too much history on the side of the Crusaders that says that even when they have a slight down point and reset, they tend to come back pretty well. We're
all waiting for it. Like the whole world the rugby world's going. And so when do the Crusaders remember to be Crusaders again?
Yeah. Well, and even now, like they're 0-4. They could well be 0-5, 0-6 in the coming weeks. But still, the expectation will be they could still make the 8.
That is a measure of the success that we all still think that. Every other team that's 0-4, we're like, they're done.
Pull out the red line. But the Crusaders, they could still make it. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Who is the best Australian, the best New Zealand team this week now?
Well, so it's still the
change from last year.
It's still the Hurricanes, and it's built on balance. So they the Canes are a balanced team right now. I do think you look at the top of the table and it has a familiar feel besides the Crusaders. The Brumbies are there. There's something about trying to play out Kiwi the Kiwis doesn't work. I think the Brumbies have always had it straight. The Brumbies bring a different brand. They know what they do. They know how to do it. Their cleans are really good. Their set pieces are good. I think there's something about that slows the Kiwi machine down a little bit. And I do think that's replicable. So the Brumbies have a real, like,
it's
actual,
repeatable.
You can teach around that.
So last week against the Islanders, they scored a more try. That was the first one since round 11 last year. 2 more on the weekend. It feels like, right, we can hit a line out now. We can hit a line out drive. We can score from that. So they're scoring from set piece again, and they're scoring counter-attack tries again. And so we weren't seeing either of those in the first few weeks of the Brumbies. So I think that's a big change for them. We will discuss round 6 in games of the week later this week, and games of the week on the weekend went pretty well for us. So we're feeling pretty good about where games of the week is up to right now. In the ERC, wins for Leinster and the Bulls on the weekend sets up a 1v2 thriller this weekend, mate. I'm really looking forward to how that plays out.
Yeah, South Africa's really in a bittersweet mood right now. So, Chasing the Sun 2 is out, so everyone's fixed and glued to their TVs on Mnet, watching that and crying and reliving everything. But in the ERC, it's all party time. The Lions win. The Sharks. The Sharks finally remember that they have like 800 caps on their team. Stormers are running, bad boy Bishop Buolant Boys Boil and play, and then you have this. The Bulls are just rolling. So I do think there's interesting facts there. I think the Lions taking the first South African team to win in Galway at Connacht's Sports Ground. It's tough to win in Galway. It's like you're playing in a gale. They had a red card early to Asanati, the prop, and then it was just hanging on. And what's good about it is when you are red carded early on, there's just 2 ways to go on that. And one is you actually even just don't try to survive, but actually play more. The Lions played more, and they started scoring tries. They go, hey, we don't need 15 players to score a try.
That's a throw. I can remember the Lions getting a red card like a second or third minute of a game against either the Brumbies or New South Wales, and you felt like that game was just shot, and they just went, you know what, we're going to play, and they won by 20 points. Yeah.
And so the ERC is very poised right now. Let's say it that way. It is. Yeah.
The Benetton bubble might have burst. They went down 16-13 to Scarlets, but they're 10th on the table now. They were top 4 for the first 6-7 weeks.
It's a long season, man, and it's just hard to do that. I think there's a shape there of about 9 teams that look like they'll be vying. So it might come down to it, but you kind of see who's going to be the top 4 or 5 teams right now. Yeah,
I think you're right. In the premierships, Saracens thumped Harlequins in that derby. There's just nothing much to say about that.
With an interesting subplot, though. Austin Healy he's on the comms, and he's talking about a particular off-the-ball incident with Owen Farrell, and then the TMO can be heard. We always thought TMOs were in a bubble, couldn't listen to the comms. Yes, and he says the problem we got now, of course, is that it looks like Healy's instigated it. Austin Healy's instigated. And so the universal distaste for Austin Healy and his megalomaniac ego kind of cut against, and that's not right. The TMO should not be queuing like what he goes. And people are having fun with that, but that's definitely, we just learned something, which is some TMOs are listening to the feed.
Are actually getting commentary, and that they should not be getting commentary. They should, and it is absolutely doable. They can just get vision feed, and they should get vision feed and the referee's audio. That's all they should be getting. And it is doable. That should be happening as a. But
by the way, that is a good 8-9 combo. If I had to pick on retrospect, Billy Vunipola and Ifan van Sale were very good for Saracens.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Gloucester scored a converted try in the 78th minute to beat Leicester 27-25.
I saw that. It was rough. That was rough.
Rough day for Dan McKellar. Bristol ran in 7 tries to knock off Northampton.
Didn't see that coming.
No, I don't think anyone saw that coming. Don't know. Over in the French top 14, there were 6 yellow cards as Racing 92 kicked a late penalty goal to beat Cast by 2. 9th place Bayonne beat 4th place La Rochelle 13-12. La Rochelle missed a penalty goal in the 78th minute. And then on the Sunday game was the game you were raving about Monday
Bordeaux.
night time, was Bordeaux and Toulouse, wasn't it?
I love the coaches on the pitch in top 14, and so they're gesticulating and waving around. They're right in your face. Dupont was playing number 10. Late switch, Thomas Romas went down 5 minutes into it. So, Dupont playing fly off. He looked pretty good at that. What could he not do?
6 months away playing sevens hasn't hurt him, has it?
That's actually helped his fitness. He was really going. No, it was a classic French, local thing where that home crowd is deafening. I don't know what I think it was 50,000 people ish.
That's incredible, isn't it? Yeah, hell of a game. In Japan, just very, very quickly, the Cannon Eagles kicked an 83rd minute penalty goal and came back from 35-10 at half time to beat Suntory 37-35.
Hell of a pick for a game of the week. Yeah.
Yeah, good pick. And Suntory, I said it a couple of weeks ago, Suntory are just a bit, how are you going at the moment? That was at the Chichibu. And in Major League Rugby, speaking of games of the week that you picked, a high-scoring thriller between Seattle and Houston. Sam Windsor missed a late conversion to win.
Rough on it, because he actually hit one from inside his half before.
That's playing for Seattle against his old side, one of his old sides, the Houston SaberCats.
It was a funny old game. There were moments of great play. There was one breakaway by a lock, and he Justin Basson, who was a Shark actually, but he's from Parle. And he literally just ran out of gas right before the try line. His mate finished it off. His loose forward finished it off. But he just was running. I think he had a 70-meter gallop. It was pretty special looking.
Anyway, I am done. Here you go. You have it.
Set a ruck. It's time for a ruck.
Don't miss our new end of week show, Games of the Week, where we do go through the weekend's games in comps all around the world. And we pull out the ones that we think that you should watch. And it is just another reason for you to like, follow, subscribe, and make sure you do catch it as soon as it drops later in the week. Reek. Some news of the week, mate, to finish up this episode 7. Something from last week, actually, that we that came out as we're recording. I think Italy have matched their previous all-time best ranking of 8th in the world following their win over Wales at Cardiff in the last round of the Six Nations. They were last ranked 8th in August 2007. They've only been there 3 times and only for a total of 4 weeks in total, but they're up to number 8 in the world. I think that means Australia's down to 10th, I think.
No, Wallabies are 9th because Wales dropped to 10th. And so now we go back in time and realize that Dave Rennie was fired because he lost to a team that actually is ranked higher than the Wallabies. Like, Italy is no joke. It's not like people shouldn't be fired if they have a really good season, but they lose to Italy. Italy is a team on its day that can play some pretty good rugby.
It feels like the stereotypes about Italy are starting to no longer apply in the same way the stereotypes about Fiji playing 15s and at Rugby World Cups, they stopped applying 15 years ago.
No, that's true. And also with Italy, they have under 20s are really strong too.
On point, absolutely. We've discussed it already, but last week Joe Schmidt confirmed that the great Lord Laurie Fisher will join his team as his assistant coach alongside gun analyst Owen Toolan, who's come back to Australia from Wales. They're 2 very, very, very good first additions to Joe Schmidt's team.
A little bit smarter hires by Joe than Eddie early on.
It's a little bit better.
Let's get some real rugby guys.
Yeah, you've been near a ball. You know how to do that. Oh, you're a halfback? No, it doesn't matter.
Who knows more about the breakdown in Australia than Laurie Fisher? Nobody. Let's get him.
No one. No, he's a very, very good signing. And talking to him on the weekend, he's very, very happy and excited to be involved as well. No doubt about that. Saracens are close to reaching an agreement, apparently, to sign highly rated Crusaders fly half Fergus Burke. And that is to replace Owen Farrell. It is interesting because Glasgow, I think, had a crack at Fergus Burke last season, he qualifies for Scotland, but now it looks like Saracens might actually win out there, which is interesting. Anton Dupont played for Toulouse against Bordeaux, as you mentioned. Sevens has not held him back. Veteran Springbok forward Willem Alberts has confirmed that he will not extend his contract beyond this season, so thus ends his great 19-year
The
career.
Bone Collector.
Bone Collector, one of the great nicknames. It really is. And some news that hit on Monday, Australian time. Former Brumbies captain Sam Carter will join the Western Force for the remainder of the 24 season, having spent the last season and a bit with Leicester with Dan McKellar. He was at Ulster for 4 years before that. And it's good to see him back in Australia, to be honest. I'll be very happy to see him back playing here. The Force go to Fiji this week and then Auckland. So they're on a mini tour now. So I'm not sure whether he'll play either or both of those games. We'll see. He was in Perth for the win over Queensland last week. So
that'd be a hell of a start. Go to Lautoka and Auckland.
Yeah. 30 degrees, 80% humidity. Good for a couple of kilos on the way back, won't it? Yeah. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. But, mate, that is us done for another episode of the 8-9 Combo. How do you score episode 7?
43 out of 40. I don't know. I'm just making up new rules like World Rugby.
Thank you to all of you out there in Rugby Pod World who have found us. If you are new to our work, then welcome. If you know us from the last few years, then we thank you so much for following us. And speaking of following, the pod is on the socials. Check out the show notes for the full listing, but the 8-9 Combo on Twitter, Insta, on YouTube as well, where you can find full episodes, full video episodes each week. And also on TikTok, which you tell me you'll have back in action this week.
Yes, I'm TikToking.
Okay, cool. You were warned. So do like, follow, subscribe, and interact with the pod directly. We'd love to hear from you. But also do rate and share as you possibly can. We are starting from scratch, so any previous ratings and reviews that you might have left elsewhere and previously for us have obviously not followed over. So jump back on your platform and tell us what you really think. Chart-wise, mate, I haven't mentioned charts for a few ways. We debuted back in the number 5 in Norway, and we've been number 2 for most of the week. So that's good to know. Harry and I are on the socials in our usual places, at Harry Baldy Jones and at BMC Sport. And again, just like, follow, subscribe everywhere, please, so that you get us every week and twice a week now with Games of the Week. This is the 8-9 Combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed, coming to you from the podcast double act you already had. I'm Brett McKay, he's Harry Jones, and we'll be back in your ears later this week with Games of the Week.
Come, play with us.
Good.